Easy now, Martha. It's just a bit of thunder. No need to spill your tea, you know? It's listening to that wind howling through the chimney. It takes me back. It chills my bones in a way this heater never could. You all see me as Arthur, the man who struggles to open a jar of pickles. But once, I held the lives of 500 people in my hands. It was the winter of 1978. When I was 27, I was working the graveyard shift at the most isolated railway junction in the north. And that night, something came out of the fog that wasn't on the schedule. Is everyone comfortable? Colonel, stop fidgeting with that radio. The static is giving me a headache. Thank you. Look at that rain. It's relentless, isn't it? It washes everything away, or so they say. But some memories, they are etched in stone. They don't wash away. They just get heavier. Nurse Sarah, could you be a dear and close those heavy drapes? The draft is creeping in.
Thank you, child.
You look at my hands now, shaking a bit as I hold this cup. Liver spots, loose skin. But you have to imagine them different. Strong, calloused, grease-stained. I wasn't always sitting in this wheelchair waiting for bingo night. There was a time when I stood 6 feet tall without a stoop. I had a chest like a barrel and eyes that could spot a signal light from a mile away through a blizzard. I was a railway man, a signalman. It's a lonely job, you know, or it was back then. It's just you, the levers, the telegraph, and the silence. It happened in November of 1978, when I was 27. I was posted at Blackwood Junction. Now, none of you would know where that is because it doesn't exist anymore. They tore the tracks up 20 years ago, but back then, it was a critical switch point, miles from the nearest town. It was just a small wooden cabin, perched up high on stilts, so I could see down the line. Inside, it smelled of stale tobacco smoke, coal dust, and strong black coffee. That was my world at 27. That particular night, the fog was so thick you could taste it. It wasn't like this rain we have today. It was a white wall. You couldn't see your own hand if you stretched it out the window. I was sitting in my chair, boots up on the heater, much like I am now, actually waiting for the 2 a.m. express. The night owl, they called it. It was a mail and passenger train, always fast, always heavy. My job was simple, but vital. Wait for the bell code on the telegraph, pull the heavy iron lever to switch the tracks, and let the night owl pass safely through the junction. If I didn't pull that lever, the train would stay on the main line, which, due to maintenance that week, ended abruptly at a washed-out bridge 3 miles down. So you understand? If I fell asleep, people died. I was 27, full of energy. Sleep wasn't an issue, so I thought. Around 1:45 a.m., the silence of the cabin was broken, but not by the telegraph bell. It came from the window. Now, remember, this signal box is on stilts. We are talking 15 feet off the ground. There is no balcony, just a sheer drop. I froze. I put my coffee mug down slowly. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded small in that wooden box. Nothing but the wind. I told myself it was a bird. A branch, maybe, but there were no trees that close to the tracks. Then it happened again. Louder, like a fist pounding on the glass. My heart hammered against my ribs, thump, thump, thump matching the beat on the window. I was a strong man at 27, I've told you that. I'd been in bar fights, I'd played rugby. But this made the hair on my arms stand up. I grabbed the heavy iron poker from the coal stove. I walked to the window and wiped away the condensation. I pressed my face against the cold glass, trying to see into the white fog. Nothing. Just the swirling mist illuminated by the faint yellow glow of the yard lamp below. "You're losing it, Arthur," I whispered to myself. "Too much caffeine. Not enough sleep." I sat back down. I checked my pocket watch. 1:50 a.m. 10 minutes until the night owl was due, and then the phone line went dead. I reached for the handset to call the station up the line, just to check the train's position. No dial tone, just a hollow, empty static. That's when the panic set in. Real panic. The kind that tastes like copper in your mouth. If the train was early, I wouldn't know. If the telegraph failed, I wouldn't get the warning bell. I had to make a choice. Do I switch the tracks now, blindly, or do I wait? If I switch them too early and a local freight train comes through first, I'd send the freight train the wrong way. If I wait too long, the night owl hits the broken bridge. I stood up, pacing the small floor. The wooden boards creaked under my boots. Suddenly, the smell hit me. It wasn't coal. It wasn't rain. It was ozone, like the air after a lightning strike, and something rotting. The temperature in the cabin dropped. I could see my breath puffing out in clouds, even though the stove was roaring. Martha, are you listening? You look pale. Don't worry, I'm still here, aren't I? At 27, I didn't believe in ghosts. I didn't believe in omens. I believed in steel, steam, and schedules. But as I looked at the lever, the heavy red-painted lever that controlled the switch, I saw it move. Just a fraction. Clank. Nobody was touching it. I backed away, gripping that iron poker until my knuckles turned white. "Who's there?" I shouted. And then I heard it. A whistle, but not a train whistle. It was a human whistle. A cheerful, jaunty little tune, coming from the corner of the room where the shadows were deepest. Let's whistle while you work. I spun around. The corner was empty. My watch read 1:55 a.m. 5 minutes left. I had to get out. I had to get down to the tracks and check the points manually. Maybe the mechanism was jammed. Maybe someone was messing with the equipment outside. I grabbed my lantern, threw open the door, and stepped out onto the metal gantry. The wind hit me like a physical blow. The fog was freezing. I climbed down the ladder, the metal rung slick with ice. My boots slipped on the last rung, and I hit the gravel hard. I scrambled up, ignoring the pain in my knee. I ran toward the switch point. And there, standing in the middle of the tracks, was a man. He was facing away from me. He wore a long, tattered coat, soaking wet. He wasn't moving. He was just standing there, staring down the line into the dark. "Hey!" I yelled. "Get off the tracks! The express is coming." He didn't flinch. I ran closer, swinging my lantern. "Did you hear me? Move." I was 10 feet away when he slowly turned his head. I stopped dead in my tracks. He had no face. Where his eyes and nose should have been, there was just smooth, pale skin, like a mannequin. But he had a mouth. A wide, grinning mouth filled with too many teeth. He raised a hand and pointed down the line, not toward the bridge, but toward the signal box I had just left. I looked up. Through the window of my cabin, the cabin I had locked, I saw a silhouette. Someone was in there. Someone was grabbing the lever that would send the train to its death. Faceless man on the tracks began to laugh. Sound like grinding metal. I didn't think instinct took over. The instinct of a 27-year-old who refused to let a disaster happen on his watch. I sprinted. I ran back to the ladder faster than I have ever moved in my life. I hauled myself up, my breath burning in my lungs like fire. I burst through the door of the cabin. The room was empty. But the lever, the safety catch, was undone, was trembling, ready to be thrown. I threw my body weight against it, slamming it into the safe position and locking it down with a heavy pin. At that exact second, the cabin shook violently. The roar of the night owl filled the world. The windows rattled in their frames. The headlight of the train cut through the fog, blindingly bright as it thundered past on the safe line. It was so close, I felt the vibration in my teeth. I collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would explode. I lay there for an hour, clutching that poker, watching the door. When the sun finally came up, the fog lifted. The world looked normal again. Birds were singing. I went down to the tracks to look for footprints, to look for the man in the tattered coat. The gravel was undisturbed. No footprints in the mud, nothing. But when I went back up to the cabin to pack my bag, I found something. On the outside of the window glass, 15 feet in the air, there was a handprint. A muddy, greasy handprint. But it had 6 fingers. I resigned the next day. Never worked a night shift again. Arthur pauses, taking a long, shaky sip of his tea. He looks around the room at his fellow residents. They told me later that back in the 1920s, a signalman had gone mad in that box. He'd caused a crash intentionally. They said he had an extra finger on his left hand. I don't know about that. I don't know what I saw. But I know this. When I was 27, I learned that there are things in this world that defy explanation. I learned that sometimes the only thing standing between life and death is your own stubborn will to hold the line. We get old, friends. My legs don't work like they used to. I can't run up a ladder now. But that night stayed with me. It taught me to trust my gut. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. If you feel like you need to act, you act. You don't wait for permission. George, you're looking at the window like you expect to see a handprint there. Don't worry, we're safe here, but maybe we should keep the curtains drawn tonight, just in case. Who wants a biscuit? I think I've talked enough for one evening.